The following program was provided by a valued member of our local community. Rogers TV is proud to support local producers and share local voices, ideas, and opinions. For more information, please visit our website. The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Hi, my name is Hope and I'm the manager of the Ontario SPCA Mobile Animal Wellness Services. At the Ontario SPCA and Humane Society, we're committed to making veterinary care accessible in underserved communities. Before we dive into the many remarkable achievements the mobile unit has made, let's hop on board to take a look around and see how this state-of-the-art unit operates and the impact it's making to keep animals with their families who love them.
Since 2019, the mobile unit has allowed us to make a significant impact, helping to change the lives of thousands of animals. Our team has performed over 11,000 spay and neuter procedures since the mobile unit rolled out. In 2024, our team performed close to 1,000 spay-neuter surgeries, helping to prevent more than an estimated 53,000 unplanned puppies and kittens. The mobile unit was once again stationed in Sudbury for the second year in a row to provide basic veterinary services in the north. In addition to spay and neuter services, the mobile unit also provides basic veterinary services to over 400 animals and administered close to 800 vaccines in 2024. For animals requiring additional or emergency care, families are referred to a local veterinarian for additional treatment.
By partnering with local communities, we're addressing barriers to veterinary care, such as affordability, transportation challenges, and limited access to local clinics. For many families, this is their first opportunity to spay or neuter their furry friends or even see a veterinarian. Our mobile unit is making that care accessible while educating families about the importance of veterinary services.
The Ontario SPCA Mobile Animal Wellness Services Unit was made possible in 2019 thanks to the Pet Value Companions for Change program, which contributed $175,000. In 2023, Companions for Change provided a second sponsorship of $150,000, ensuring the unit can continue to deliver spay, neuter, and basic veterinary services to underserved communities. Our goal is to keep pets healthy and with the families who love them while helping reduce pet overpopulation. This custom-built 38-foot mobile unit is designed for efficiency and safety. Powered by a gas generator and a deep cycle battery, it's ready to serve wherever it's needed. Everything is secured for travel with locking cupboards, strapped lights, and equipment stored strategically to maximize space. The unit is divided into two sections. The preparation area, located at the front, includes a single anesthetic machine used to prepare surgical patients. The surgical ward in the rear is equipped with 2 examination tables, anesthetic machines, and oxygen concentrators. 2 emergency oxygen tanks are also available. Both oxygen concentrators were purchased with funding from a family foundation and an individual donor. Our team includes licensed veterinarians and registered veterinary technicians, ensuring every animal receives top-notch care. With a single veterinarian on board, the team can perform 20 to 25 surgeries in a day. While RVTs manage patient care and recovery, other team members handle paperwork, assist pet parents, and keep operations running smoothly. Thanks to the dedication of our team, the support of our partners, and the love of pet families, we've successfully strengthened the human-animal bond and made a lasting impact in communities across Ontario.
As a registered charity without annual government funding, the Ontario SPCA relies on support from the community to provide community outreach programs and services. Visit ontariospca.ca/mobile services to learn more or donate.
Hey everybody, it's time for a short kettlebell workout. We're going to practice our clean, our squat, and our press. Keep that elbow tucked in close to the ribs as we clean. The clean is a hinge. Drive hard with the legs, readjust your stance as you squat, and feel free to use the drive from the legs to get the kettlebell up overhead. We are practicing 1 clean, 1 squat, 1 press. You can see that arm is very close to the ribs during the clean. Tight, stable, close to the midline. And in the overhead position, the bicep is lined up with the ear. Switch sides. Set up your clean. Readjust that stance if you need to for your squat. And crush the handle when we press overhead. Every time we hike the kettlebell back, you should have that contact with the forearm on your inner thigh, keeping it close to your midline. This will protect your low back and make the lift that much safer and more efficient. Excellent. Now we'll get into the crab walk. Chest high, shoulders down. Use whatever space you have available to crawl forward and then backwards. And if this feels too awkward, or if you have slight pain in your wrists or shoulders, just hold the position stationary and alternate lifting one leg up at a time. That is totally cool. Basically the same thing. As you get accustomed to that position, then you can add the crab walk in. Nice little sequence here, total body effort. Good job. Now we're resting. We're figuring out how to perform those lifts as efficiently as possible. We're shaking out the excessive tension in our muscles, deep breathing, maybe grabbing a short sip of water here. Then we have one more practice round, and I want you to focus on tensing the muscles really hard when we do this. Listen to my cues. Here we go, round 2. Getting into the clean. We squat and press. Keep this sequence going. Focus on your movements. Your core is engaged, your feet stay flat. Get as many quality reps in as you can. Nice work, last set like this. Beautiful. Nice work. Switch sides, same thing. We clean, squat, and press. Engage your core. Nice tight grip on the handle. Drive hard with the feet. Almost there. Excellent work. Beautiful. And into our crab walk. Shoulders are down, far from the ears. Try to keep the hands nice and flat, engaged on the floor. Baby steps with this one. Try to keep the toes up as well. Almost done.
Now that we've reached the off season for the Ontario Hockey League and CHL in general, wanted to still produce some content during the off season. And last year I did the team history videos. This year, why don't we do a season by season history? So I'm going to do every video is going to be a different season as we go along. I'm going to start with the very first OHL season, and we'll make our way to where we are in 2024-25. And I know that there's probably going to be some stuff that I miss as I wasn't around back in these earlier years, but it's kind of an overview as to how we got to where we are today with the history. So if this is something you're interested in, well, let's take a peek at what went on in the OHL. And the OHL that we know it goes back to the 1980-81 season. They wanted to operate independently from the Ontario Hockey Association. So there was a bit of a feud going on when it comes to major junior hockey in the province of Ontario. And from 1974 until 1980, they were known as the Major Junior Hockey League, and then eventually adopted the name OHL after they agreed to pay the OHA $30,000 annually. This was the original agreement to compete for the Memorial Cup as well. So this was the framework of it. And of course, David Branch, the first commissioner, he was the one who oversaw a lot of these agreements and to get the OHL on its feet as it prepared to play its very first 68-game season. And they had 12 teams at the time. And out of the 12, 9 of those cities are still in the Ontario Hockey League today. So I'm also going to use the logos based on what the teams were back at the time, because I think it's kind of neat just even see the evolution of all the team logos that we know of today. And we're going to start off with the Leyden division because it was separated by 2 teams. So you had 6 teams in each division. In the Leyden division, there's some powerhouses here. The Sioux Greyhounds led the way. A record of 47, 19, and 2, good for 96 points, and they were the league champions that year for the regular season. After that, the Ottawa 67s were second, 45, 20, and 3 was their record, 93 points. The Kingston Canadians, before we have the Frontenacs, they used to be known as the Kingston Canadians. 39, 26, and 3 was their record, 81 points. The Oshawa Generals came in 4th, 35, 30, and 3, 73 points. And the Peterborough Petes, 29, 36, and 3 was their record for 61 points. And at the bottom of the division, the Sudbury Wolves, 20, 45, and 3, good for 43 points. And you're going to notice with some of these teams, the struggles were pretty evident in the 1980s, and the Sudbury Wolves being one of those teams. But look at the division. Like right now, we're trying to figure out how teams work with alignments, and travel is always considered. But when you see Sault Ste. Marie in the same division as Ottawa and Kingston, that would not fly today. There is no way we would see those teams together. So it is fascinating just to see how things were that first OHL season. But when we head over to the EMS division, things are very different. You'll notice that these teams, not as many points as the ones in the Leyden. The Kitchener Rangers led the way. A record of 34, 33, and 1, 69 points. So quite the difference right there. The Brantford Alexanders, they were second in the 80-81 season. They had a record of 34 and 34, 68 points. So playing 500 hockey that year. The Windsor Spitfires, they were third with a record of 33, 33, and 2, 68 points. The Niagara Falls Flyers, they were fourth that season, 30, 36, and 2, 62 points. The Toronto Marlboros, they were fifth. 31 and 37 was their record, good for 62 points. And then at the bottom of the division, the London Knights, 20-48 was their record and 40 points. Now, some of the highlights from the regular season, the very first OHL All-Star game was held this season in Kingston. The Canadians were the host in 1981, and the EMS division ended up winning that by a score of 4-3, even though the Leyden division had stronger teams. It would be the EMS division winning the All-Star game. To note, Mike Keenan, he was the head coach of the Peterborough Petes at this time. The Petes, you're going to notice they've got a lot of history when it comes to head coaches. And Mike Keenan, of course, after this would go on to the National Hockey League. He won a Stanley Cup in 1994 with the New York Rangers. But it's still kind of cool to see that Keenan got his head coaching start in junior hockey. And for the Kitchener Rangers, they finished first in their division, but they were last in the OHL standings at Christmas. They would actually go on and have an outstanding second half of the season, propelling them to first in the EMS division. It was unreal from my understanding, from what I was reading, just that turnaround that Kitchener had that season. And Ernie Godden of the Windsor Spitfires, he set an all-time record of 87 goals in one season. And that record still stands today. So a record in the first season, and we'll see who can maybe catch up to that record. We saw Nick Lardis get 71 goals, but Ernie Godden of the Windsor Spitfires, 87 that year. When you look at, let's look at the top 10 scorers for the OHL that season. John Goodwin, he led the way with 166 points of the Sioux Greyhounds. Ernie Godden was second. He had 153 points that season to go with his 87 goals. Bernie Nichols of the Kingston Canadians, he was third in scoring that season with 152 points. Tony Tanti of the Oshawa Generals, 150 points. Steve Ludzig of the Niagara Falls Flyers, he had 142 points that season. Scott Howson of the Kingston Canadians, he's next with 140 points. Steve Larmer of the Niagara Falls Flyers, he had 133 points. Steve Gatsos of the Sioux Greyhounds, 128 points. Tied with him was Randy Cunnyworth of the Ottawa 67s with 128 points. And then Doug Shedden, he had 123 points. So he was 10th in scoring that season. So it's interesting seeing some of the names from that season. And of course, they would go on to have careers in the National Hockey League and elsewhere. So those are your top scorers in 1980-81. Now, the playoff format, it was done different. And you'll notice in the 1980s for the OHL, the playoff format would be adjusted a few times. And here, it wasn't a best-of-7 series. It was based on points. So some games would end in a tie, and so both teams would get a point, and then they would go on to the next game. So some series would be up to 8 games to get to that points difference. So in the division quarterfinal, there was only 2 series. The Oshawa Generals, they defeated the Peterborough Petes 3-2, and the Niagara Falls Flyers defeated the Toronto Marlboros 3-2 as well to advance. So in the division semifinal, the Sioux Greyhounds, they would have their way over the Oshawa Generals 8-4. And then the Kingston Canadians, they would win their series against the Ottawa 67s by 9-5. So it's really different with the playoff format being this way with points. And then in the other division, the Kitchener Rangers defeated the Niagara Falls Flyers 9-5. And the Windsor Spitfires, the upset over the Brantford Alexanders with 8-4. Now in the division final, it was the Sioux Greyhounds. They would go on to defeat the Kingston Canadians 9-5. And then the Kitchener Rangers, they would defeat the Windsor Spitfires 9-1. So a very dominant performance there by the Kitchener Rangers. So that would leave us into the J. Ross Robertson Cup final. And it would be the Kitchener Rangers taking it away from the Sioux Greyhounds 9-3. And that series, quite intense is my understanding, as it started off with a tie 3-3 on April 21st of 1981. But that point too, the series was going back and forth. So Sault Ste. Marie started the series on home ice, then they'd go to Kitchener, back to the Sault. They went back and forth. So the travel would have been something else between those two teams. But for the most part, it was a pretty close series, 2 ties, and then Kitchener would win actually 3 ties, and Kitchener would win 3 games. So 9-3. So a very different format to what we have today. Now, so to the award winners that season, I'm not going to go through all the awards, but some of the standouts, like the Red Tilson Trophy for MVP, went to Ernie Godden of the Windsor Spitfires. The Eddie Powers Memorial Trophy went to John Goodwin of the Sioux Greyhounds. The Matt Layden Trophy went to Brian Kilray, who was the head coach of the 67s at that time. And the Jack Ferguson Award went to Dan Quinn of the Belleville Bulls. So just some interesting names there. And also, just because I'm a fan of John Van Beesbrook, he won the W.F. Dinty Moore Trophy in the 1980-81 season with the Sioux Greyhounds. So just wanted to throw that in there as well. Now, the Memorial Cup was also done a little differently in 1981. Windsor was the host city for the tournament, but they only had 3 teams compete. So the winner of each league, so you have the Kitchener Rangers, Cornwall Royals, and the Victoria Cougars. Those were your 3 teams competing for the Memorial Cup in 1981. So no Windsor Spitfires. So the host was not a part of the tournament back in 1981. Kitchener, they would place second in the round robin and then lost 8-2 in the Memorial Cup final to Cornwall, who featured Dale Hawerchuk and Doug Gilmore. And this was Cornwall's second of back-to-back Memorial Cup championships. And at this time, the Cornwall Royals were playing in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, as it was called at the time. So after this, you would eventually get Cornwall joining the Ontario Hockey League, but at this time, Cornwall playing in the Q and defeated Kitchener for the Memorial Cup championship. So that was the 1980-81 season. I know this is a little different from what I've been doing on the channel, but I think it's fun to look back, checking out the history of how the OHL got to where it is today, and it all started in 1980-81. So let me know in the comments below if you remember that season, what stood out to you, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I will be setting up an OHL history tab on the channel, so you can follow along there, or you can even check out the team history videos that I did last season. So again, thank you very much for all your support, and we'll talk to you again soon.
You want to save for a house. Well, how do you do that? I'm going to share some tips with you to get started on saving for your own down payment. Well, speaking of down, you can head on down, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, stay updated with all of our content, and leave me a comment. Did I forget any tips? Did you like any of the ones that I gave? Let me know. First and foremost, simplest way you can begin to save for your down payment is cut out all your buying of coffee and all that other stuff. I know it's stereotypical, but it's true. Places like Tim Hortons and Starbucks and stuff cost you an arm and a leg. Unfortunately, you might need those legs because you might want to get those grippers out and sell some pictures for some extra money. Who knows?
That's a gripper.
Those are your toes. Get the grippers out. A lot of people, when money comes their way, it's like, oh, let's go celebrate, or let's something good happened, let's go and I've done well, let's go buy X, Y, or Z. But like, put the money away. Your future homeowning self is going to thank you for putting away that windfall, because money's tough. I would argue the vast majority of people that are attempting to save for a house hate it, and it sucks because because living is so expensive. So the biggest thing to get into when it comes to saving for your down payment is get into good habits, right? You want to be putting away, X amount of dollars from every paycheck. You want to be going through your subscriptions and things like that, and what don't you need? What services don't you use all the time? Cancel the ones that, you haven't checked out in quite some time. Netflix, who needs them? You want to build up the good habits of just putting away, like, every penny counts. But one of the things that you want to do when looking to save for your down payment is set yourself a goal. So, easy example, say you want to save $60,000 in 3 years, right? Break it down monthly, that's just shy of $1,700. I think $1,667 exactly per month is what you need to save, which is then broken down into, by paycheck. So say you put $1,000 a month from your paychecks, right? Then you've got, say you pick up a second job or some side hustle you've got going on. There's an extra $500 a month, right? So you're up to 15, and then the extra 167-ish, if you can cut back on your subscriptions, or maybe don't, you want to order out once a week or twice a week, cut it back by one, literally just one. Like, delivery and like takeout and stuff like that costs so much. Like, if you look at it and you think about it, it's absurd. You want to eat out, you still can, everything in moderation, but make sure that you're hitting your goals that you're set for yourself first. If you're wanting to save for your down payment, let's get real. You need to take a serious look at and assess your current financial situation. Make sure that you deal with your situation as is, deal with your current debts, try and get yourself, I often refer to it with myself as like getting yourself back up to the starting line, right? You're starting behind it if you're already in debt and stuff like that. Get yourself back up to zero and then start looking at the future. In terms of debts that you might be looking at, student debt is one thing. Credit card debt is a major, major thing. Your credit score is super important, especially when it comes to purchasing a house. It takes day and a half to 2 days to lose your credit score and months, if not years, to build it back up. So it's something that you want to be continuously building on. As much as, you know, the credit score and the credit card debt is spooky, in order to gain your credit score, you need to use it but pay it off, right? So it's not something that you just, oh, I never touch it, so therefore I don't have it. When I was purchasing my place, I actually, I had a little bit of difficulty getting a mortgage because I only have one credit card because I've only ever needed one. Banks saw that as like a red flag. It's like, well, why does he only have one? Can he only get one? And meanwhile, my thought process was, well, I only need one. Why would I get another? That's not to say that you need a bunch of credit cards, and different companies look at things different ways. So just making sure that your balance across the board is zero, probably one of, if not the most important things before you get started in saving. One of the best tools when it comes to, you know, saving for your down payment for your house is creating a budget. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. You don't need any third-party program. Google Sheets works just fine. Microsoft Excel, whatever have you. You need to list out all of your income every week, what's coming in, and every single one of your expenses. Don't start leaving stuff out. You know, you've got, oh, well, I ordered pizza last Friday, but that was just a one-time thing. Like, no, put it in, because then when you look back at it, you can see, oh, I spent a lot more than I thought I did. Not only is it good for planning forward and understanding, like, okay, 25% of my budget has to go towards X, Y, or Z, like bills and that sort of thing, but it can also show you where you might be tripping up and where you can save more money. If you're okay with, you know, skipping the eating out, like I mentioned earlier, or the pizza or something like that, every dollar that you are able to put into your pocket is just like a second sooner that you can get your down payment in. So for some people who are more visually attuned than I am, post, you know, the house that you want or whatever you're trying to save for on your fridge, somewhere that you're going to see it often, right? It's going to keep reminding you, this is my goal. Got to stick with it. Head in there. Putting it as your lock screen on your phone is another big one. Hopefully your significant other is okay with being set aside, or Photoshop a photo of them or the both of you into the house that you want, and then that's your goal. A very helpful step, in my opinion, which is to automate your savings, right? You can have it set so every time you have your paycheck come in, X amount of dollars, whatever you had decided, based on our example earlier, it would have been $500 a paycheck, assuming paid bi-weekly. It's just nice to be able to not have to worry about it. I know both my mom and I have a thing where we like looking at our bank accounts and just seeing a number larger than what we saw last time without having to really do anything. So the money automatically gets put away and it's like, ooh, I have a little bit extra sauce in there. That's nice. Hopefully some of these tips helped you guys out, you know, maybe inspired you to start saving for your own down payment. It might seem like a very arduous journey, but it is doable. People are buying first-time houses all the time. It's the people I primarily work with. I wouldn't have a job if it wasn't the case. So if you guys have any questions about anything at all, or maybe you have your own suggestions for saving up for a down payment, or think that maybe one of my ideas could be tweaked a little bit, let me know in the comment section down below. But until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Happy savings.